Yeah, the call of wild's always bringing me home. Call of wild's always bringing me home. Call of wild's always bringing me home.
Well, hello, wild ones. Welcome to another episode of the Find Your Wild podcast. I'm so excited. Sorry, that was my dog. I'm so excited to have another episode for you guys, and I have my good friend Aspen here from, or you might know her as Wildlife with Aspen on Instagram. How are you doing today? I'm doing good. It's so good to catch up. I love your new haircut. You look amazing. Yeah, so we first connected on Instagram, which was really awesome, through my clothing brand. But then you were so nice enough to take me out by you in North Carolina to the the Alligator River National Wildlife Park. Is that okay?
National
Okay.
Wildlife Refuge.
Refuge, right. I always get that confused. But what's really special about that place is that it's one of the only places in the world where you could see wild red wolves. And you are also a wildlife guide down there. And it was so nice to be able to kind of come to your neck of the woods and be able to see all this amazing wildlife. So I'm forever grateful for you taking me out.
You got to come. Did we end up seeing the wolf? I forgot if we did or not.
We did. It was very, very far off, but it still counts. It still
It
counts.
counts. It counts. The win is win. It was better than I guided the other day, and we did not see a wolf.
Yeah.
So yeah, it happens. Far away wolf is still great.
Yeah, you know what? I'll take it. And I just missed them the day that I left. You weren't feeling good, but I heard some howling off in the distance, which was pretty
yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
haven't heard him howl in a while, so.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. So, for people listening that don't know you, I guess, like, how did you first like to start a little bit off about like your journey into wildlife and because I know you went to Africa too to study in school, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I studied biology in college, and I've always really loved animals, and I kind of figured I want to do something with them, and I did some undergraduate research on gray wolves, which are the species that lives out west. And then I did get to study in Tanzania for a good part of a summer. And we study carnivore coexistence, so basically how we can learn how to coexist or live peacefully with carnivores, which is a growing ever so important the more people take over wild places. And so I got to learn a lot of really cool stuff there. It kind of just exacerbated my desire to work with wildlife, especially carnivores. Came back to work with coyotes in Winston-Salem. I did a lot of coexistence, volunteer, and just general research and studying there. I worked for Wildlands Network as basically a trail camera technician for a study on red wolves at Alligator River and also Pocosin Lakes National Wildlife Refuges. I got to know the area really well, got to know the wolves, got to kind of solidify my skills in that. Anyway, someone eventually decided or suggested me try guiding at the refuge, and I didn't know about that because it's kind of risky just because you have to find clients, and it's just a whole different side of animal work that I hadn't really thought of. But then I did try it and I loved it. I much prefer being outside and out in nature, and that's hard to do when you're kind of completely in biology because there's a lot more desk work and office work and people work when you work as a biologist than people realize, which is not what little 9-year-old me thought at the career fair. Right. There's not as much animal stuff as you think. So anyway, guiding turned out to be a really fun, awesome kind of job for me, and I've loved it. I've done it for a couple years now, and I love it. I'm also a wildlife photographer, and I love capturing different stories and showing people kind of through my lens how I view wildlife, and then kind of getting them to appreciate them just a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, it was so cool. And like, sometimes I feel like you don't, like, I didn't realize there was just this like gem, of a refuge down in
Mhm.
North Carolina too. I mean, we were really lucky and we saw so many. I mean, we hit the bucket list. We saw black bears like right off of the bat. We saw a bobcat or towards the end of the day.
Mhm.
We did see the red wolves. I mean, we just vultures. It was such a cool place, and it's so nice that you found this like niche for yourself that you're still able to go out and enjoy the
Mhm.
wildlife and share that love with other people, which is so awesome.
Yeah, it does not get old, and I've had clients kind of tell me like, "Oh, it really just doesn't get old for you," because every time I see a like a bear up close, or just anytime I see a wolf or a bobcat, I'm just as excited as they are. Just like it doesn't get old for me. I love it every single time. They're all different. They all have different personalities. You never know what you're gonna get. So
Yeah.
I'm very great every day. I'm so grateful that I get to work a job that I love so much. And I feel like that kind of passion helps extend to others when they're with me. It kind of helps a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I saw my first like, well, technically wild wolf, but like first black bear while I was down there.
Mhm.
And I was also lucky enough to be able to hear you talking to some college kids,
Mhm.
and sharing your knowledge with them. And what I
Yeah,
found really, yeah, that was
yeah,
great.
about
But
that.
I didn't even realize I found it so interesting the intricacies of like protecting red wolves and like
Mhm.
there was also the thing with coyotes that like you had to make. I don't know if you want to explain that obviously better than I can, but I just found that so interesting.
Yeah. So you might be talking about how they keep red wolves and coyotes from interbreeding.
Yes,
Is that what you're
yeah.
talking about? Yeah. So, red wolves are very endangered. Any member of the Canis genus, which basically includes wolves, dogs, jackals, coyotes, they can all technically interbreed and have babies, which is not good if one is endangered, obviously. So to prevent that from happening, there's a couple things that happen. The Red Wolf Recovery Program captures and sterilizes as many coyotes as they can. And the reason they do that, as opposed to just removing the coyotes lethally, is that they know that it's a better strategy just to have these so-called placeholder coyotes. So these placeholder coyotes will still kind of retain their hormonal desire to keep other coyotes away, but they physically cannot reproduce. And like I said, they'll just have these placeholder coyotes. They cannot mate with the red wolves. So that's one way they do it. And then the other way is that one management way that they pair up red wolves is that they'll take a wild red wolf and capture them and put them in an acclimation pen during mating season. And then take a red wolf from captivity that's part of the SAFE program, which is saving animals from extinction. So multiple zoos and facilities across the country that work together in this accredited program to breed red wolves that with the hope and chance that eventually some of them or most of them hopefully will be eligible to be released to the wild. And so they will put one of those in there with the wild wolf, let them acclimate, and hopefully they'll mate and have pups. And I believe it's 6 to 8 weeks after um, the pups are born, usually, is when the acclimation pen gets open, and then the wolves are free to leave and kind of expand outwards in their territory. So yeah, that's a couple ways that they use those management techniques to keep the two of them apart, which is very helpful since, like I said, there's so few red wolves. There's fewer than 30, and we just really don't want any interbreeding to happen while they're trying to kind of get back up on their feet.
Yeah, I thought that was incredible because like you don't realize the you know all of these little intricacies that play a part, in protecting and making sure that the red wolves can hopefully come back to greater numbers too.
Mm-hmm.
And the good news is that there's the wildlife crossing that's being built, right? That's
Hopefully, yeah.
super exciting.
Yes. So hopefully there's a federal grant that got approved for building wildlife crossings in Red Wolf Country. Um, so fingers crossed on that. Road strike is currently the number one cause of mortality to red wolves, followed by illegal gunshot or poaching. Um, and unfortunately, parts of really important red wolf habitat, highways cut through a major portion of that, which is really bad. So wildlife crossings can be hugely successful. for both wildlife and from a human safety perspective for just wolves. Or there's so many black bears out there. It's the one of the highest densities of black bears, some of the biggest black bears in the country. Aside from obviously no one wants to hit a black bear because you don't want to hurt them, but aside from that, there's the human safety aspect, because if you hit a 600-pound black bear going 55 miles per hour, that's not good for you either.
Yeah.
So the plan is to build multiple crossings. I believe the plan currently might be to have one overpass over a highway that's kind of a like a red zone for red wolf mortality from roads, and then several underpasses that go under the roads. Several kind of reptile crossings as well, because there's a huge population of reptiles and amphibians that live in that area. So we're very excited about that. We'll see how it progresses over the next several months to years, but that would be hugely beneficial for the wolves. Like I said, it's the #1 cause of mortality for them currently. Similar in vein to down further south, Florida panthers, the highest, I believe their highest cause of mortality is also road strike.
Yeah, it's so sad, and like you said, it's beneficial those for humans and for animals too. So it's kind of like a win-win, because like you said, you don't want to be hitting like a 600-pound bear. Not only because you don't want to hit a bear, but also because it's dangerous for you to get into an accident too.
Deer also. I mean, obviously, deer cause so many injuries and deaths in the country every year from people just hitting them with cars.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's just multi beneficial for many people and animals. So it's awesome that is hopefully going to happen and in multiple spaces too. And another thing that I was gonna ask you about too is the collars that the red wolves have. They're orange, right? Do the coyotes have those too? The ones that are
Yes. Yeah. So that's a good question. So the red wolves have bright orange tracking collars, and there's a couple purposes for that bright orange tracking collar. One, they're so endangered that the management team needs to be able to find them for health checks, just management actions, etc. Study them, all that jazz. And the bright fluorescent orange serves as one to identify them from coyote hunters that might be in the area, so that they can obviously not shoot the red wolf that is endangered and illegal to kill. They're also the fluorescent tape on the collars reflects off of car headlights, kind of similar how when you bike at night, or jog at night with your dog, you wear that reflective tape for safety. So the hope there is to kind of minimize that risk of road strike. So that's what the red wolves have, the bright orange collars, and then the coyotes that are caught and sterilized, the older collars were black, and now the new ones are white. So if it's a black or a white collared canid, it's a coyote, and then if it's an orange collar, it's a red wolf.
Right. And for people, I guess, that don't know what red wolves look like, I'll try to put a picture in, or at least like at the end, but they're pretty similar-ish looking. It's kind of hard to sometimes tell them apart if you're maybe not an expert. So it's good that they have those distinctions there.
Yeah. One good look at them, aside from the collars, is red wolves have much longer legs proportionally than coyotes. They typically have a broader face. They're kind of, they're bigger, thicker animals. And I know you saw a wolf kind of far away, but I have found that people, when they see red wolves in person, they're like, oh, that's a wolf. Because when you look at them from just a picture or something, they kind of just look like a slightly leggier coyote. And I think that's also just because we associate shorter furred canines with coyotes, because if you think about most Americans' perspectives of wolves are gray wolves that live out in Yellowstone out west, kind of the old frontier, wild west, big, fluffy, giant wolves. And if you look across the world, though, that's not what all wolves look like. So, like the Indian subspecies of gray wolf, and then if you look at Ethiopian wolves, if you look at Italian gray wolves, they all have that shorter fur that actually look a lot more like coyotes. Or, sorry, they look a lot more like red wolves. So, coyotes, because they have shorter fur. So, like, if you look at Ethiopian wolves, pictures of them, which they're really cool animals, and Indian wolves, they look very similar to red wolves, and they're all wolves. But I think we as Americans, just anytime we see a shorter furred canine, we just assume it's a coyote because that's what we're used to. But red wolves live in much warmer habitat than gray wolves that can live in sub-zero temperatures and snow and frost and all that. And red wolves live in 100+ degree super humid summers and on the Carolina coast. So that coat
Right.
would not be very beneficial for them at all.
Definitely not. It barely gets cold down
No,
there, right?
no, not I mean, I guess it depends on who you ask. Like, it gets cold for me in the winter, but
Right.
I feel like compared to big folks who live like out west or super up north, and it does not get it does not get cold here.
Right.
It's
Right.
snowing
So
once
it
a year.
makes sense. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It makes sense that their coat would be much
Yeah.
shorter too.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and I also, I guess, like, wanted to bring up about like your wildlife photography
Hmm.
too, which is incredible. How did you first because I know you've always been into animals and wildlife and you studied wildlife biology, but what made you want to get behind the camera?
I made some friends that are wildlife photographers, and then kind of pushed me more towards that. And I had a little camera at one point. I was just obviously I was no good, and I just had like a little camera with like a fixed lens, so that's not really conducive for shooting much wildlife, especially the animals I was interested in. And so I honestly I was around my friends, and I kind of just wanted to try out what they were doing, and I actually got to I kind of got into it a couple 2 3 years ago. I forget when.
Yeah.
Um, but I kind of found very quickly that I loved doing it. It I love telling stories. So it kind of gives me the opportunity to showcase different individual animals, different species from more of an artistic lens, or people that wouldn't get to see these animals in the wild normally. You get to kind of get an inside look at them, and I think it makes people care about animals a whole lot more when they can see them or like read about them and read about their stories and their ups and downs and wins and losses, and that's so much better done visually. With a good storytelling image that comes across that. So, wildlife photography is actually very beneficial in wildlife conservation if done correctly. Um, so I hopped on that, and I definitely love it. I by no means am like a top professional, but I still love it, and I'm trying to work on getting better at it every day.
Yeah, and I mean that's like inspiring too because I feel like we could all get better at whatever we love doing, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
never any like end point to that, but wildlife photography I always like love. Hopefully eventually I'll get a better camera one day,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like the ultimate like souvenir that you can take without
Mm-hmm.
disturbing the wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're like respectful of
Mm-hmm.
like distances and stuff. Like even when we were down there, we kind of bumped into a couple of like a group of guys that were not that respectful. I actually remember talking about it with another wildlife photographer recently, the barred owl and that we saw down there, and they were trying to like whistle at it and
Yeah,
trying to get its attention, and I remember you're like silently fuming like
I was so mad. I was like, y'all, come on. It's also the thing that was so annoying too is the owl was right there. Like, she was so close to the road, but just sit there and watch her. We don't need to make noise at her. She's already so close.
yeah, like
Um,
I got amazing pictures. Like there was
mhm.
no need to,
No
you
need.
know, annoy her or anything like that. Yeah.
No, and even hypothetically, even if she was far away, like there's just no like I don't know. I guess people just get impatient and they just want that shot. But I'm just like, no, why we gotta do that? Just leave her. We'll just sit here quietly and she'll do her. It's also less natural too. Like, I love taking pictures of animals and they're literally in their element. So whatever they're doing, their natural behavior is my favorite thing to capture or just record and watch them. And so even if I'm not taking pictures, sometimes I'll just sit and watch animals.
Yeah.
And so yeah, just any disturbance like that just kind of takes them away from that natural behavior, which is so much cooler to me
I agree.
than
Yeah.
kind of trying to alter it in some way.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you love animals, I mean, I feel like that's what makes like especially like wildlife shots like cool and unique is
Hmm.
just like, kind of being a fly on the wall and being able to just be
Hmm.
there in the moment that,
Yeah.
they're doing their own natural things and like being able to catch a glimpse, if you're lucky, of what they're doing, which is what, to me, the coolest, and I'm sure you agree, is that that's the coolest part about wildlife photography and videography too.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah. And like also like, because I feel like that is kind of like an interesting topic too, like with wildlife photographers and like with like baiting and stuff, and like like trying to like kind of like set up the shot or get too close. Like, have you seen a lot of that or they're pretty strict there, right? And
Well, you're not allowed to. I haven't actually seen people. Actually, that's true. One time I saw a group of kids leave a piece of cake out for a bear, and I picked it up. I was not happy. They were kids. I mean, I would have, if I had been able to tell them not to do it, I would have. But I just assume a lot of people there's two kind of people that I've kind of found bait or feed animals, and one is they're really like just they're trying to get a better shot, and they're just trying to. I guess I just call it cheating. And there's those, and then there's those people that don't realize that feeding animals is really bad for them, and they kind of, I want to say they mean well, and a lot of times they do, they just think they're helping, but feeding animals is one of the worst things, feeding wild animals was one of the worst things you can do for them. It can habituate them, get them too used to people, draw them closer to roads, which is obviously very dangerous, so we don't want to do that. And then also, just from if you kind of look at it deeper from a photography perspective, if you get a super close-up photo of, I don't know, let's say just a bobcat, and by the way, you can get super close-up pictures sometimes, like it happens. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you put in a lot of work, so just because you see an up-close photo of an ant, like, doesn't necessarily mean anything bad happened. But hypothetically speaking, so it can also give the wrong impression that this is like easy to do, or this is like kind of normal for people who are just getting into wildlife photography. Whereas it's usually images like that take a while to get to work for. Sometimes you get lucky, but it sometimes just alters the perception for how easy it is and how normal it is if you're kind of just cheating and don't disclose that. Hey, we bumped the process up a little bit, please. No, oh my goodness, kitty. My friend's cat.
That's okay. This is a wild podcast. We love any type of interruption. So, little kitty. Is that the new cat that you have, or that you rescued?
Yeah, it is, but I ended up giving her to my friend because I have so many pets already. And
hi, Baba.
She's very cute. She's very she's
so cute.
She was a stray, and she's getting fixed next week, but she's in heat right now, and so the poor thing is just
uncomfortable.
I know. I know. Oh my goodness.
No worries. Yeah. It's usually Claire, my dog, is like barking at squirrels in the backyard in the background. So
it's all good. This is an animal. This is a wildlife podcast, or a wildlife or
wild. It's exactly. So
it's the theme.
Exactly right. She's just on theme.
She is on brand.
Very on brand.
Yes, you are. Special guest.
Oh, so cute. Yeah, I wish I could have a cat, but literally I'm the only person in my family that's not allergic to cats.
That is a lot of my friends are a lot of my family is allergic to cats too. I've somehow dodged it, and I'm so happy. Actually, funny enough, for horseback riding, my horseback riding instructor, she's allergic to horses.
Oh, that's so funny.
I know. I think it's only she was like working on like de-shedding one of the horses recently, and like that was bad for her. I don't think it's like so bad that like just touching them is a problem, but the poor thing, I was like that's an interesting career path we picked.
Yeah. Sneeze attacks.
Sneeze attacks all the time.
Yeah. I love that you've started horseback riding again. How is that going? I love getting your like video updates, and I'm like, it looks amazing.
I love it. I started horseback riding last year. I've always wanted to do it since I was a kid, and I finally just started doing it last year as like sort of like a gift to myself. And I love it for a couple different reasons. One, it's fun. Two, it's a different animal. It's a really interesting. Horses are a new brand of animal for me because I'm used to carnivores and dogs and cat, And a
Yeah.
1,000 pound prey animal is a very different brand of animal than I'm used to being around. So it's really
Yeah.
been really cool getting to know how to act around them and getting to kind of figure them out a little bit. Horses are so good for teaching self-confidence.
Hmm.
And kind of, which is something I've struggled with sometimes, is that kind of self-confidence or like decision making, I would say, is like when you're on a giant animal or on the ground with one, you kind of just have to make your decision and stick with it and go. And so being indecisive doesn't really mix super well with horseback riding. So it's definitely helped me out with that. It's also really good exercise. It's great. I love it. It's like I call it like one of my forms of therapy is horseback riding. So
Yeah.
I
It's the
trying to
best.
get a little bit better, but I love it. So I try to ride
Yeah.
once a week. Although this week I'm so busy, I think I'm only going to be able to do it once. But
That's
that's okay.
amazing. It's the best. It's the best therapy. I literally, because my horse now, did I tell you I have a horse?
Yes, you did. I want to meet
Okay.
him.
Yeah, he's older now. He's like has arthritis, so I can't
Hmm.
ride anymore. But like I said to my husband the other day, like, oh, I miss riding so
Hmm.
much because I started riding when I was like 6, so
Hmm.
it's always been such a natural therapy for me. And like it's amazing, like like you said, like the different type of animal they are. Like they literally feel everything that
Hmm.
they're so sensitive to your emotions. So like if you're nervous around them, they feel that, like, and it's true. It really does help your confidence because like you have to be able to be like, okay, I'm going with this decision. Like I'm like I don't know. I always was taught when I was younger that like kind of everything's always your fault, like with the horse, because they're relying on you to be able
Hmm.
to instruct them. So I mean, if they spook, like whatever, but like you're there to help calm them down
Hmm.
and to be connected with them. So it's such an amazing form of therapy and working out and and you're
Hmm.
doing Western, right?
Yes. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
learn how to just do like just Western riding, and I'm learning how to barrel race, but just on a very low key
Yeah.
basis for that because just something fun to challenge yourself with, and it's so much more difficult than people make it look. Like when you watch videos of people barrel racing, I'm like, that doesn't look that bad, and then I get on the horse, I'm like,
Yeah.
it's so much more difficult than I
I
anticipated.
Yeah, I grew up doing like a English saddle, so I would jump a lot, but like I was always
Mhm.
interested in doing more like Western stuff, but maybe
Yeah.
maybe in the future eventually.
Yes, you should come out to where I am, and we can ride together. But
I would
yeah,
love that.
I the different horses I ride teach you different things, and it's funny because like one horse I'll feel like, oh wow, I'll look at myself riding her, I'm like, oh, I'm doing great, like look at me go, and then I'll get on a slightly more difficult horse, I'm like, hook, never mind,
It
I
was
am not
yeah.
as good at this as I thought I was.
Yeah, it's
But yeah,
amazing like the different horses like and what you learn from each horse because they
yeah,
all have their own personalities and like each day is also different. Like they could be in a mood or something like that.
yes,
Um
I
yeah.
could not agree more. But they, like you said, they teach you different things, and I like, especially I feel like, whoa, thank you for moving that. Okay. Stop, stop scratching stop revving on the computer. Um, but yeah, so I love riding different horses, and I feel like I don't know much about teaching horseback riding, obviously, but I feel like for a beginner or someone who's still learning, that different riding different horses is so valuable because you learn your style, their style, you learn
Yeah.
different things from each one, like we've been saying. So I think it's been great.
Yeah, horses are incredible. So yeah. I really love them too. And it was funny when I was younger, I'd always ask for the kind of like crazy horses because I always would love to like go fast. Like if I was trail riding, I'd always want to be last so I could hold my horse back and then like gallop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I went on a trail ride. I went on a trail ride last year with my dad and my sis child. Okay, how do I just hold you? Um, and I didn't really like it because we weren't allowed to go any faster than a walk. And I was like,
uh
let me go. Um, but I actually last year I got bucked off a horse, which was very scary. And so I
that
will
is
say
scary.
it humbled me very quickly. Not that I wasn't already like cautious around horses, but it was like,
Right.
hey, this is a be careful kind of moment, and I got right back on. and I didn't stop. I
There you
ended
go.
up breaking my thumb. But didn't I got banged up a little bit. That was it. I was lucky though. That was the worst thing that happened. But it's kind of funny because one of the horses I've been riding recently is the horse that bucked me off was a brown and white paint horse. And then recently I started riding a brown and white paint horse, a different one because it's a different place now.
Yeah.
But the first time I got on her, I was so nervous because she looked like the other one. And I was like, "Oh no, here we go." But she's been rehabilitating me to brown and white paints is what I've been saying.
Hi, Wild Ones. I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Find Your Wild podcast. This episode is brought to you by my clothing brand Femme Sauvage, and I'm going to link that in the description below along with a little discount code for you. Be sure to check it out. We also donate $5 with each of our animal designs towards specific charities. I will also have those in the description below. And enjoy the rest of the episode. Thanks so much for listening. I love it. Paints are some of my favorites. I mean, my horse is a paint too. He's a big quarter horse paint.
I primarily ride paint horses.
Yeah.
There are two black and white ones and now a brown and white one.
It's funny when my husband, because my husband and I went to high school together, and I did a horseback riding like club or whatever. And we were doing an end of the year trail ride, and his horse was acting up, and he was trying to go back to the barn, and we were trying to gallop and go faster, and he tried to go back to the barn, and like usually the horses want to go back to the barn, but this horse was not cooperating that day, and I was at the end of the group, and he ran past me, and I literally was like trying to save him on horseback. So he was running past me and screaming. I felt so bad, and then like I galloped up next to him. I was like trying to grab his reins, and then eventually like they stopped, but like his horse was trying to bite my arm while I was trying to save him.
It's a bit of a chaos.
It was great. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and he says I was like his knight in shining couture.
That's so funny. Yeah, a lot of people are super scared of horses, which I understand why, especially having been bucked off of one. I get it, but I'm
proud of you for getting back on though. That's the best thing, you know.
And
then a good
I
note.
knew as soon as I got, but like I was on the ground for like a good 15 minutes, but like as soon as my brain started working again, I was like I need got immediately back on. I was like I'm not that I wouldn't have gotten back on ever, but it would have made it I think more difficult had I not gone back on and I wrote out the rest of the lesson because I was like nope. I was like all bloodied and bruised up. I'm like, I guess I didn't realize I had a broken thumb at the time. I was like, oh, it's just sprained. And then
your adrenaline, right?
Like, that night, it was like all the colors of the rainbow, and I was like, well, this is a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you are getting back to paints, because paints are probably one of my favorites. So they're the best. Yeah, and I guess to get back to wolves, I know like one of the awesome tattoo that you have on your ankle, right, is of Airplane Ears, who was a really amazing red wolf male, and why the wildlife crossings are so important, because he was unfortunately hit by a car, right?
Yeah, so he was one of my favorite wolves, if not my favorite red wolf. His number was 2323M. He was translocated from St. Vincent's National Wildlife Refuge in Florida, which is considered semi-wild. It's not considered part of the population, the wild population, but they do use them for integrating into the North Carolina population. But he was transferred to Alligator River and paired up with the milltail female, who is 2225F. They gave birth to the first wild-born litter since she herself was born in the wild, and so that was in 2022 was their first litter. And Airplane Ears, I nicknamed him that because he had really funky ears that would kind of just like go out to the side, and kind of like he looked like airplane ears. And he was such a cool wolf. Like I could recognize him from like half a mile away, literally. Just he had this like distinct kind of swagger walk that I called his cowboy walk.
Uh-huh.
He kind of had this like grin. He kind of like this. His face was just very. Whoa, thank you. He had a very expressive face. And he was a super great dad. He was a super great mate. They ended up having 6 pups the first year. I believe at the top of my head, I believe 5 out of them made it to adulthood or like semi-adulthood, and then
Wow.
4 of them are alive as of now. One of them got hit by a car last year. Um, and then they have 5 pups the following year, and I had to look at my chart. I believe 4 or 5 of them made it. No, I think 4 of them made it out of that 5. But he was a super great mate, great provider. And even that success rate is really remarkably high for red wolves or wolves in general, which have generally about a 50% mortality rate for pups for their first year. So they were fantastic. But yeah, he ended up getting hit by a car last fall. Which just broke my heart. I cried so much when I found out about it. And I ended up getting a tattoo for him, which I love. Kind of hiking through his territory still with it because it's kind of like taking him for a walk through his old home, even though
Oh,
I kind of feel
yeah.
like he never really left there.
Yeah.
But that really was it was a big blow because so many people fell in love with him because of his derpy little face, and he was just a magnificent. It was definitely a symbol of hope for the species too, because he and his mate kind of helped kickstart that excitement and having
Yeah.
pups in the wild for the first time in years. And actually, it was more tragic because the reason he got hit by a car was a black bear had gotten hit by a car several days before, and it wasn't picked up properly, and the wolves obviously will scavenge, and they were drawn to this giant carcass that can feed them for a good amount. And unfortunately, so one red strike of the bear killed more than one thing.
Right.
So it was really really bad, but it kind of just solidified the need for these wildlife crossings or this awareness for those. And I like to think that his death had some sort of impact in a positive way of shedding light to people that we really need this and they really need this, and
Yeah.
we didn't really need to lose him in that way. So yeah, I still miss him a lot. I think
Yeah.
about him a lot when I'm out there. He used to I never saw him up very close, which is fine. He was pretty shy and didn't really like people, which is one of the reasons he was such a really great wild red wolf, which that's how it's supposed to be.
Right.
But often I would see him at the very end of the evening. So at the refuge, you can only be there half an hour after sunset. And so kind of as I'm on my way out of the refuge, a lot of times is when I would see him kind of like poke out on a path or out of the trees and kind of just stand there and like look in my direction and like he's saying like good night.
Mhm.
Kind of, and I always as the sun's going down, I often think of him and wish that he'd kind of poke out of the trees, but I like to think that he's still out there in some form or fashion, just
Yeah.
still walking around.
Yeah, his spirit at least.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm like I love spiritual stuff, so I always like believe in
Mhm.
reincarnation. Who knows,
Mhm.
maybe he'll be reincarnated as another red wolf pup and be able to roam free there
Yeah, I love seeing
again one day.
his pups that are, I mean, they're grown now. They're 1 and 2 years old, almost
Yeah.
3 and 2. But I love seeing like him and them still like he still lives
Awesome.
on in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. And how many are there now? Are there like about 16-ish?
There's about 16. I can get an exact number. I think it's like 16 or 17 or something. The official number I give people when they ask is fewer than 30,
Yeah,
especially since during the winter there's releases or management happening. So, I mean, technically at this point there could be more that I do not know about. So I
right.
usually just give a ballpark of there's fewer than 30. But my last like actual count of them I had was like 16 to 17, I believe. I'll have to look at it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we're hoping for, more pups this year. So we'll fingers crossed on that. And so
Yeah.
that those wildlife and also that the wildlife crossings can hopefully kind of start making progress on those would be fantastic.
Yeah, that would be amazing. And so I guess like is right now or like maybe a couple weeks ago was that breeding season for them? How long do they usually their gestation period is for?
The gestation period is, geez, I think it's about 90 days. I'll have to look.
Okay.
I'm bad with numbers, but their mating season is late winter, yes. So like,
Okay.
this has just been their mating season. So actually, yeah, because they're usually born in April, so
Okay, yeah. So
it's
it's
getting
coming
after.
so it's coming up. So
Yes,
fingers crossed that we get
yes.
some
Usually
more
wolf
pups this
pups.
year.
Usually wolf pups are born in April.
Okay,
Red
cool.
wolf pups anyway.
Yeah.
Other canids they can vary. Like coyotes, I've seen litters that were born like late March. Um, they can be born. Some of them in colder climates can be born later on in the spring. Kind of just depends. But the red wolf pups are
Sure.
usually born in mid-April or April.
Cool. That's awesome.
Fingers
The
crossed.
other Sorry, what'd you say?
I said fingers crossed.
Yes, fingers crossed, absolutely. The other thing I learned from you when we were down there, which I thought was really cool and like I just didn't know is like the bedding down during the day of the
Hmm.
wolves and like what's the best time I guess to
Hmm.
see them and like when they're active.
Hmm.
Because they hunt more at night. So there's
Yes.
like different times to be able to see them.
Yeah, so I always say dawn and dusk is the best time to see wolves, red wolves. They're considered kind of crepuscular animals, which means they're active most at dawn and dusk. A
Mhm.
lot of carnivores are like that. Bobcats are like that, although bobcats can be more diurnal sometimes, which means out during the day.
Yeah.
Technically, red wolves can be active at any time of day. Same for any animal; it can be active at any time. But yeah, the best time to see them is at dawn and dusk. So, a couple hours. Around sunrise and a couple hours around sunset is your best bet at seeing them. That's when they'll be most active. Um, so yeah, it's a good rule of thumb for wolves.
That's cool. Yeah. And the so it was also very unfortunate after I left, the day after I left, or
Mhm.
the bobcat that we saw with the
Oh yeah,
cub got hit by a car in the refuge.
mhm.
Did they ever find out like what happened to that, or somebody was just speeding,
I mean,
or
I assume it was someone just speeding. I didn't hear anything from it, but I mean, she
yeah,
was definitely hit by a car, so I would imagine someone was speeding. And I
yeah,
mean, if the top speed at the refuge, like legally, you can go 35. I don't go 35.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's one of those things where if you're paying attention, I like that's not to say animals can't just like pop out on the road, but bobcats are so wary and stuff. I don't know. I assume someone was speeding, but you can't ever
yeah,
tell. I actually just had otters just run right out in front of my car, which scared me the other day. They'll sometimes run out like 100 yards away, 50 yards. And it's we're like, oh, there they go. But these ran right out in front of me, and
yeah.
I was going like 10 miles an hour, I think,
Right,
and
yeah.
I was not expecting them to do that, but they were very cute. I love otters there. They're little water slinkies.
Yeah,
I
that's a
love how they
great term for them.
go like that across the across the land. They're so cute.
They're so cute. It's on my we have a very, very few amount in on Long Island, and it's like
Mhm.
my bucket list goal for this year to try to find them, to take a picture of them. So
Did you
fingers
spot it?
crossed. We did no.
Okay, you'll have to come back in like more of the winter because I see them
Yeah.
I see like at least two or three often like every day in the
Mm.
winter time.
Oh yeah,
Or
they're
the cold
so
months.
cute.
They're so adorable. Oh, they make the cutest little noises. They do the otter when they do the otter poop dance. They do like the little like they shake their butt around and it's always really cute. They're
I
very
love
very
that.
sharp little teeth though. They're mustelids, which a lot of people don't realize. So otters are closely related to badgers, honey
Mm.
badgers, American badgers, weasels, wolverines are all mustelids. So
Wow.
they're the kind of pine martens. They're that kind of those kind of like vivacious little furry critters that they uh they act bigger than they are.
Yeah, and Yeah, the otters are pretty fierce because they're social too. So they have kind
Mhm.
of like, what is
Yeah.
the group of otters? Are they a pack or what are
No,
do
they're
you
not
know?
a pack. I don't know what they're called. I know they're not called a pack.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you, but yeah, no, they're
Yeah,
they're they're really cute. They can be kind of bully sometimes. Like I have no friends who've seen them like kill a beaver before. Like they'll gang up
wow.
on. And there's videos of in South America giant river otters kind of facing off caimans, which are a smallish but still sizable crocodilian.
Right.
And so like a group of them will just like kind of face up on one of them. They're fierce little critters. It's kind of like how you see videos of honey badgers in Africa, kind of just standing up to
Yep.
pride of lions. Just like these two badgers, and the lions are just standing there like, what is going on here? Like, what are y'all
That's
doing?
uh have you ever seen that famous video that's like honey badgers don't give a fuck? They're
Yes,
like
yes, yes. Honey badgers don't give a fuck. They don't. They really don't.
the
But yeah,
best.
those are all little muscular friends.
That's awesome. What so we saw like a good bunch of animals there. Like we didn't see crocodiles because it was still a little cold for them, right?
Alligators.
Because gators, yeah.
Yeah.
That oh yeah, alligators, right. Sorry. What other so there's red wolves, black bears, like what else can you see down there?
So it's a huge variety of animals, critters. You can see red wolves, as far as like the larger red wolves, coyotes, bobcats, black bears, river otters. Technically, you can see beavers and mink, but they're not as common.
Mm.
Barred owls, hawks, birds of prey. During the winter, you will see a trillion northern harriers. During the winter,
We
also, a lot of the fields are flooded up, which provides really great habitat for migratory waterfowl. So you'll see a lot of swans, a lot of ducks, a lot of geese, all these really cool birds that come from all over to spend their winters. You see snakes, so many frogs, snapping turtles. You see timber rattlesnakes are one of my favorite animals. Cottonmouths, which are also called water moccasins. Just king snakes. Just I'm trying to think of other animals at the top of my head. Alligators. You can see alligators. Turkeys, deer. Trying to think of more. Is there any more?
yeah. I
um,
mean, it's a good array
vultures. Yeah.
of animals. It's really cool. Even when we were walking, we saw the cottonmouth, which was
Yes.
all I think it's I had a lot of firsts there. So my
Mm-hmm.
first bear that I saw, my first wild wolf,
Mm-hmm.
my first wild like snake, which was very cool. And the thing about him was like he just opened his mouth and he was like, "Hey, please don't step on me."
Yep.
And then just went away. Like snakes are not as evil as people make them out to be, you
No.
know?
Well, especially cottonmouths. You think people you'd think that talking to people in the South that cottonmouths were the snake in the Bible that told Eve to bite the apple, just how much they hate them. But there's this
Come on.
really false belief that cottonmouths will chase you, and they don't, and that they're mean and they're awful, and they get their name, the cottonmouth, from when they open their mouth, like you're talking about. It's a fear display. So they're opening their mouth and being like, "Hey, go away! I'm here. Leave me alone." And a lot of people kind of misdirect fear in animals as aggression.
Mm,
And even a lot of times when dogs growl, it's not always an aggressive display. It's often a fear display. Like
right,
resource guarding in dogs, which often is accompanied by growling, is a fear response, not an aggression response.
right,
But we kind of put those human qualities on animals, and anthropomorphizing them in that way is not always good because it leads to people being super scared of them or wanting to kill them. But yeah, cottonmouths are just goofy little guys. They're really cool. They're semi-aquatic. So they I'll see them swimming around in the canals. They eat frogs and fish. Um, and a lot of there's a lot of water. There's a northern water snakes look a lot like cottonmouths, so they get killed a lot because people think they're cottonmouths. Um,
mhm.
but yeah, they're just goofy little guys that have a lot to say.
He was great, and I mean, like, he blended right in, and then like I walked by him, and it was funny because I was like, oh, there's a snake, and you're like, where? And then like we was like, oh, he's right there, and
Yep.
like he didn't move like for a minute. He was like, because the other thing is too is like, are they technically venomous
They are
cottonmouths?
venomous, yes.
They are venomous,
They're
yeah,
not gonna so it's kind of funny. So I have almost stepped on like 10 cottonmouths because they blend in so well. And I
yeah,
try to look at my
really,
feet, but anyway, I've stepped like over them before with their mouths open. And that's another thing. Like I tell people, I'm like, they're not aggressive. If there's anyone that should have been bit by a cottonmouth by now, it should be me. Because I have
yeah,
just accidentally gotten so close to them. Um, but they don't. And but the funny thing is, I actually looked up. I've almost stepped on so many that I looked up like how venomous are cottonmouths. Like if I did get bit,
right,
I mean it's gonna hurt, but I'm not gonna die. So rattlesnakes are actually more. Their venom is more potent than cottonmouths, but even then, you might get a little necrosis as a treat, but you're not gonna die unless people usually that die of snake bites in the United States die because they have some sort of other underlying condition like a blood clotting uh
mm,
disorders bad for snake bites.
right,
Um, so it's usually it's not gonna kill you, but it's gonna hurt, and you should still go get
right.
anti-venom and get treated and what have you. But
Of course, yeah.
yeah,
Or if you happen to be allergic, which obviously you probably
yeah.
wouldn't know if you're allergic to that
Don't know to
unless
find
you
out.
get, yeah, don't find out.
Don't do that. But as you
Yeah.
find out,
Yeah, but it takes a long time for snakes to be able to store up their, like, their venom. That's their defense mechanism, so I'm
yeah, they
sure they
don't
don't
want
want to
to. That's also the
use
thing
that.
too is if a venomous snake bites you, there's no guarantee that there's actually venom in the bite.
Mm,
Sometimes they like dry bite and there's no venom in there. But yeah,
right.
they don't like animals don't want to attack you or hurt or bite or whatever unless they are really desperate.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that's why it's best to, and like, they're like not demonize them, right? They're just trying to live their lives and go about their day. And I don't know. That's why it's so cool to be able to like go out and like do photography and just like appreciate them for being what they are, their little importance.
They
Yeah.
live their best little sneaky lives.
Yeah. See? Exactly.
Hmm.
Um Yeah. What if I guess what would you say is something that you like you've been to Africa before, right? What's like another place on your bucket list you would say that you want to get to see?
Oh, so many. I qualify whether I want to go visit somewhere based off the animals they have, which I probably
Yeah.
should bring up, but here we are. But I really want to
That's a good way to do that.
I really want to go to Patagonia. I want to see pumas. I want to see maned wolves. I would love to see
Yeah.
jaguars. Also up there is India with tigers. I want
Mm,
to see snow leopards really badly in Nepal. That's also up there. Ethiopian wolves is also a big one for me. I would love to
yeah.
see them. Um,
Is that is that like the only wolf in Africa?
yes.
Okay.
Yes. Their
Maybe.
jackals are
Yeah.
in the Canis family too. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna get butchered if I cannot think of another wolf species
Yeah.
besides Ethiopian wolves. So African wild dogs are not they're not wolves. They're canine or
They're canines, right?
they're canines, but they're actually not. So African wild dogs aren't actually even in the Canis genus, so they wouldn't
Hmm.
be able to reproduce with wolves or coyotes. Jackals can. Jackals are in that same genus. But
Oh, that's
jackals, there's
interesting.
multiple species of jackal in Africa, but Ethiopian wolves are the only wolves species in
Yeah,
Africa.
I can't think of it. I mean, I'm not an expert, but
I
like I
can't
can't
remember
think of
one
any
either.
either.
But yeah,
So
Ethiopian
that's
wolves are
yeah.
also they're critically endangered, and so they're all high up on my list of animals I want to see.
So that's interesting. I had no idea that wild dogs are technically not in the canid
Yes,
species either. What
their
are they?
genus is called I think Lyacon or something. It's
Mm,
something separate. They're still considered canids, but they are not in the Canis genus. They're closely related, but
right.
they couldn't. So if you put an African wild dog in with a wolf, they wouldn't be able to interbreed The same
Right.
way you actually people a lot of people think that like foxes and dogs can cross, but they cannot.
Mm.
Foxes are usually Vulpes genus. Gray foxes are a different genus that has a long name that I cannot pronounce. Um, so even gray foxes and red foxes can't even interbreed.
Oh wow.
Um, but yeah, dogs and foxes cannot either.
So interesting. Yeah, there was like that viral thing a little while ago, and they were, I don't know, it was like a fake news sort of a thing where they were like, oh yeah, it's the first ever dog fox.
So that was confusing because South America has a lot of very weird critters. Maned
Yeah.
wolves are one of them. Maned wolves are not wolves. They're their own
Mm.
uniquely kind of evolutionized critter.
Right.
But they're not even wolves. But they have foxes in quotation mark in South America that aren't actually foxes. So
Confusing. Yeah.
I believe what that story was it was a Zorro, which
Mm.
they are called foxes, but they're not foxes like on a biological perspective. And I believe
Sure.
whatever species it was, I forget what it was, could technically interbreed with dogs, and that's why there's like a first fox dog hybrid, but it wasn't really a fox, but it's called a fox, so it's very confusing.
Oh, that's so
Um,
confusing. Yeah.
it's very confusing. So yeah, like Zorros are technically not foxes, I don't believe. But yeah, South America has some weird critters. They have bush dogs too, which
Oh
they
yeah.
look like little sausage dogs. They're so they're so cute. But yeah, Maine wolves are really cool. They're high up on my bucket list. They're not wolves, they're not foxes, but they look like foxes on stilts. They
Yes, they're
so
really cool looking.
so cool looking. They kind of occupy the same niche ecologically as coyotes, where they have a mated pair, but they kind of hunt separately sometimes. And
Mm.
um, they have evolved those long legs because they live in tall grassland areas often. Um, but also a fun fact about them is their urine smells like weed. And so there's been times where the police have been called for zoos before because people think that there's weed, but it's just the main wolves that they have.
Wow, that's hilarious.
Yeah, yeah, I love them so much. They're such goofy looking critters. I love them.
They're goofy looking, but like so cool.
Hmm.
Yeah, they do look like they are on stilts.
Hmm. Foxes on stilts.
Boxes on stilts. Yeah, I feel like that's a good bucket list.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, they're pretty cool. Yeah, and it's definitely on my bucket list to come back down to North Carolina to,
Yes, please
hopefully.
do.
Yes.
Anytime.
And obviously the door's always open if you want to come see the little tiny bit of wildlife that's up here in New York. But yeah.
I am not a city person, but maybe.
So do you have guides going out right now? Like, are you busy? Is this like, when's your like busy season?
My busy season is after I get my permits. It's usually like my busiest time is usually when the bears are most active, so like April through November. Typically, I'm thinking about trying to do like winter workshops next year for wolves. Um, even though we not are not as likely to see bears. I'm
Right.
thinking about doing that. But yeah, my peak season is usually my favorite time of year is fall.
Yeah.
But my peak is like April through November usually.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I was down there in November, so I was like lucky to be able to see the
November's
bears.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we got to see a lot of bears, which was cool.
so many bears.
So many bears, so many. It was great. And we got some really like good, like close, but obviously still
Mhm.
respectful distance away of them, like in like the little canals
Mhm.
on the side of the road, and
Taking a
one walked
bath.
right in front of our car. I was
Mhm.
like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like,
I was not be told.
yeah, they're just so like big and chunky and cute. The
Yes.
black
Yes. We
bears, I
saw the
just,
big fat ones too because it was November, so they'd all been eating a lot, and so you got to see the big. I actually had my, I was actually at the refuge recently, and I saw my first. I had my first up close bear of since November.
oh
He
wow.
was scratching up on a tree and scent marking on it, and I was very happy.
Yeah, so I guess do they don't technically hibernate, Do they by you?
They kind of just slow down a lot since we have such a warm climate and there's so much food. They don't hibernate quite as intensely as like grizzly bears or bears out west, and they come out a lot earlier. But like I've seen bears as deep in winter as February. They kind of just don't do anything except lay out in a field all day and kind of barely move. But yeah, they don't hibernate quite as intensely.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say, because North Carolina, like, what's the coldest it gets down by you?
I mean, it's gotten before like 15 degrees Fahrenheit.
Sure.
I'd say on average, like, I don't know, 20. It can get cold, but again, cold is subjective. We usually we get snow a couple times this year, which is weird for us. Like last year, I don't even think we got one snow day. So we average like 1 to 3 snow days a year. It's a big deal here. Everything stops working immediately.
It reminds me of when Florida got snow. My dad lives in Florida, and I sent him a picture of like these guys sitting on the back of a pickup truck just like throwing salt because they're not used to.
No, I'm not used. I'll admit it. The last time it snowed, it was a couple weeks ago, and I did not leave my house because we get ice too. So like I can't stand ice. It's got to be the worst thing ever. And so I guess the roads around my place were just like inundated with ice, and I was just like, I don't need to go outside, and I'm going to, because I don't know how to drive on these things.
It's good to have a snow day, right? You don't get a lot of them, so gotta enjoy
exactly. I'm like, no, we're not doing this. It's scary.
Yeah. I love that so much. Yeah. Well, it's definitely on my bucket list to come back and see you. Hopefully that's sooner rather than later. And where can people find you if they want to connect with you, if they want to see your photography? Or
so
go on
I'm
a guide with you?
I'm on Instagram. It's Wildlife with Aspen, and that's my website too, is wildlifewithaspen.com. I technically have Facebook, but I don't really use it much anymore. If I didn't have to use social media for my job and for I like doing wildlife education, then I wouldn't be on it because it's just so much. But yeah, so that's where I can be found. Is Instagram is probably the best place to find me.
Awesome. I'll make sure to link everything below so people can connect with you more. And I'm so excited. Thank you so much for coming on. And I'm excited for hopefully more adventures with you, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yes, let me know. You're welcome anytime.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Wild Ones, for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.
Flowing to the sea, I feel the energy of life force flowing all through me, and I'll allow it all to dance with my body and play, and no one could ever convince me to give my power away, 'cause the motion of the ocean, it fills my soul, and all the power of the flower of life, it moves me and it makes me whole, and the mountains so high and so deep, I feel